All right, everybody. Baruchot habaot. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Sorry we're starting a little bit late, but we have a lot to do. Baruch Hashem. And B'ezras Hashem, tonight we will be continuing with Melacha number 5, which is called Melechet Dosh, the Melacha known in English as threshing. The idea of threshing in the Mishkan, as remember, we always said that everything that we learn now in the Melachot of Shabbat, these Melachot were the Melachot that were used to build the Mishkan. So everything that we're learning about was actually done to construct the Mishkan, of course, and this is no different. Threshing can be defined as, just let's say the explanation, extraction of a fruit, vegetable, or earth-grown commodity from its natural, inedible shell, peel, or similar attachment. That's the official definition. It's a nice definition. The idea in layman's, in simple terms, when you detach something from what it grew in. Let's talk about simple things. For example, if you've ever seen the way that a walnut grows or an almond, these things, they have these huge shells, green, nice green shells. Some of them are very dark, some of them are brighter green. And that's how they grow on the tree, with a huge green shell on the outside. And then the machine comes and the machine grabs hold of the tree and shakes the tree really, really, really hard, and all the almonds fall down. And it's a really cool process. It looks like a tennis ball, exactly. It's a big item. And you have inside of it either a walnut or you have an almond. I mean, they look different, but that's the general idea. The people who harvest them, they, in the fields already, do some kind of process to detach the inner almond or the inner walnut from that big, heavy shell. That is the act of threshing. Now, it's amazing. I actually was looking at this, how they do it nowadays. Even if you want to do it privately in your own, if you have your own almond trees, walnut trees, what they do is exactly what it says in the Mishnayot. It's amazing. The threshing of the Mishnayot was where they would take a huge cow. The cow would walk on, we're talking about now grains of wheat, let's say, and the cow would stomp all over the wheat, and the pressure from the weight of the body of the cow would detach the wheat kernels from the stalks of wheat. So that is the act of threshing, to detach those wheat kernels, or in the case of building in the Mishkan, we're talking about the dyes. We always come back to the dyes, that whatever gave color to the curtains of the Mishkan. So the first step was, of course, planting, harvesting, like we learned already, but then you had to actually take them and detach the seeds. Well, how are you going to do that for so many of these plants? The answer is you have to have some kind of a threshing mechanism. Either you have animals walk on these plants, or you have some kind of tool that causes them to separate. And that's how you get these seeds off of those plants. And then you take them, you pound them, you crush them, you make them into a paste, etc. You cook them, you have dyes now you can use to color your curtains. So the act of threshing is the act of detaching those seeds from the plant, or removing the inner walnut from the outer shell. That's a very important thing to understand. That when you extract that fruit, that vegetable, whatever it may be, from the shell that covers it, right, then that is considered the act of dash, of threshing. So this fellow who had a field of almond trees, so he actually stomped on them himself with his own feet. He was just going with his big boots on them, walking on them, and cracking them open because of the body weight that he had. And that cracked open the walnuts. And then he would actually remove them in the field, throw out the big shell. You still have a smaller shell, by the way, on the walnuts. You still have a smaller shell on the almonds, but that part, they sell it to you as is, right? So that, in other words, if you on Shabbat are doing what they would do in the fields with these types of fruits and vegetables, that's the melacha of Dosh, okay? That's a simple understanding. Is it clear? Yes? Okay. Fine. So very good. Now, if you take something out of let's say peas out of a pod, right? If the pod is inedible, then what you're doing is you are extracting the fruit from its source, from that outer shell that technically is removed ahead of time in the field, and that's a problem. If the pod, on the other hand, is edible, for example, something like sugar snap peas, there's no problem if you want to take them out, because the pod that it's in is itself food. It's not something that would normally be removed on the outside. Yes? So edamame you cannot eat, right? You cannot. Okay, so that's... You can eat the skin?
We don't, but I think one
is it edible? It's edible, so then it's not a problem. If it's edible, it's not a problem. What?
Almond shell you can't eat.
The almond shell you cannot. The almond on the outside, that big green thing.
What other nuts come in the shell?
Okay, so that's the big question. The big question that the poskim want to talk about nowadays: what about peanuts? So peanuts, it used to be that I remember when I was much younger. You go to the store, shop, right? You buy a bag of peanuts in the actual shell. You open it up and inside you get your 2 peanuts, right? It's a very common thing, but now I don't know. I haven't seen them. So they still do? Yeah? They still do. Okay. So that's a big machloket haposkim about nowadays, whether or not removing the shell of a peanut is considered to be permissible or not. We have 2 opinions. It comes out that Chacham Ovadia Alav Hashem held that you are allowed to do it, but there were those that were much more strict and held that it's a real problem. Their opinion is based on the idea that most people who sell these peanuts nowadays sell them already peeled. And they view it now as something which is done in the field, meaning something that is peeled ahead of time, similar to the green shell around the walnut, around the almond. So therefore, according to them, you shouldn't peel a peanut at all on Shabbat if it's still in that beautiful peanut shell that you open it up and you get your 2 peanuts inside.
And sunflower seeds,
what?
Sunflower seeds are they the same category?
No, sunflower seeds, that's meant to be eaten as is. You get the package of seeds and...
No, the ones you you take the skin and you
Garinim. Yeah, that's okay.
You can eat this.
Yeah, in other words, you can't detach the garin from the actual flour that it comes from, right? On Shabbat, that would be already more of a problem, possibly. But to actually have them as is, that's how they sell them. It's already coming to.
You could unshell it.
Yeah, like these guys that make wonderful sky-high piles of garinim, and then are happy with it just sitting right there in front of you.
So the only distinction between garinim and the peanuts is because now people generally don't get peanuts in the shell.
Right. Now, by the way, but I wanted to just point out, Chacham Vadia Alav Hashem held that even peanuts nowadays are still permissible to peel, meaning to take off that outer shell. So if somebody wants to be mekel and rely on that, he definitely has what to rely on. Yes.
So what we look at to know whether or not it's permissible is whether or not it's done like in your own home versus out in the field. Right.
For example, let's say the almond shell, you always get that little like crusty item on top of the almond. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That red thing that comes off. On top of an almond, there's always like a little film on it.
Yeah.
That's no problem because that's how you get it, right? Okay. That's not removed in the field, right? So that's okay. You could take that off on Shabbat, right? Or the walnut that's in a kind of a shell also, that you buy them like that. You know what I'm saying? So what? That's okay. But what they take off in the field, that big green one that surrounds it, that's a problem for you to take off on Shabbat.
So long as it's normal in the market to sell it with the shell,
then you could take it off, right? You could peel a banana, you could peel an orange, you could, all these things you could peel, right? There's no problem with all of those things. Orange peel, banana peel, garlic peel, right? These things are given to you as a finished product. Here's a banana, right? What?
Since it's normal to crack a pistachio, that's fine.
Exactly. It's a finished product. What? Grapes. You want to detach them from the vine? From the.
You want to peel their skin or squeeze them.
Okay, so we're going to talk a lot about that very shortly. We're going to get to grapes in a minute.
Pistachio, the fresh pistachio also have an outer shell that is green. Sometimes Persians buy this.
They always have a little film around it, right? But even when it's in the shell, the white shell.
Not the white shell.
There's like
fresh ones.
some versions of ours.
Yeah.
The fresh ones, it's exactly what you're saying, like almond and like
They have a green shell around it?
Exactly. And then after the green shell, we have the white shell.
Oh,
And
so
then
that's,
you have the thing.
there you go. There you go. So don't do that.
Whether or not the shell is edible. Why is it?
If the shell is edible, then it's food. It's good.
But
You don't have a problem.
An orange peel is not edible. A banana peel is
Okay,
not
but
edible.
the point is that that's there to protect. Hashem made that to protect the item. But the point is that you get that orange in the store as a finished product. This is an orange. It's how you eat it. There's a difference between how you prepare it for eating and eating itself. You understand? Preparing for eating is preparing for usage is you have to process the item. You need wheat kernels, right? So you have to remove the wheat kernels from the stalk of wheat in order to get the wheat kernels. The wheat kernels already are a finished product that you can go and buy a beautiful package of wheat kernels. But in the field, as is, that's not finished yet. It hasn't been processed yet. See what I'm saying?
Like eggshells, I know that it's best to like put the eggshells on rice and throw that out because you're not supposed to peel.
Okay, that's something else. That's a different
that's
discussion.
different?
That's a different discussion. We're talking now about threshing from the field.
What's it called? What is it?
Dosh. Melacha Dosh we're right now. Yes.
So since it's about processing, is there a problem with preparing a pile of garini, like peeling it and then making a pile for your kid or something like that?
No, because at that point already, it's not. In other words, you're not preparing it for the ability to be used. It's already able to be used.
Got it.
See what I'm saying? As is. Okay.
So finally, the pistachio, the fresh one, you're not allowed to eat?
So if you're talking about the pistachio that actually has a shell
green
from the
shell.
field, as is,
Yes.
right? With the green shell, the outer, so that you cannot remove on Shabbat. You understand why? Because that is a job that's done in the field. It's to prepare it for eating. You understand?
So I prepare it on my table for eating.
Well,
You're very complicated.
no. The point is that usually speaking, in other words, it's not ready yet. You have to process it. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Everything should be okay.
Okay.
So then doesn't custom play a role in this? Like, let's say
Yes, it does. Correct. That's right. The custom does play a role.
So let's say you live in like Queens and this is something completely normal that they sell in the market.
Sorry.